Well, it's breaking all over the news. They have the smoking gun proof that Obama did spy on the president. It's exactly how we told you he did it.
Then that would also mean that in the case of General Flynn, not only did a masking take place, but also an intelligence leak, which, as I understand it, never happens in a case where signal intelligence such as this is, in fact, obtained. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've never heard of that happening before, and as I've said many times, the only crime that we know has been committed here is that one, and it's quite clear that it was a crime. And, you know, look, I think you said it right, Sean. These programs are vitally important to the security of our country, and that's why we take this seriously here in Congress to conduct our oversight. And clearly, when I see a problem, I'm going to point it out.
And in the case of any type of leak, that would be a violation of the Espionage Act. That would be a felony. That would be 5 years potentially in prison.
That's correct. And that it appears like that happened, right? I mean, we won't know until we got all the details, but from my perspective, it appears like that was a crime.
And that raises another question, because you talked about it being widely dispensed within the intelligence community, meaning many people saw the surveillance of the president-elect and his transition team, and they were identified. Then it goes to the issue of how many people had access to it. 2 weeks before President Obama left office, he modified Executive Order 12333, which allowed the sharing of this type of intelligence, which had never happened before, with 16 other agencies. Is there a possibility that was done so that leaks could be covered up, sir?
Well, in the reports that I read, they were clearly disseminated far and wide, and I don't think it actually has anything to do with the change in that procedure. But what I saw was disseminated pretty far, and in many cases you have to wonder why, which is why I raised the question.
But prior to that modification of Executive Order 12333, it was not usual practice to widely disseminate. So certainly they had to look. If this happened in November and December, that didn't happen until January, the alteration of 12333. Is there anybody that you saw that had dissemination of these documents?
Well, I don't want to get in the weeds here, Sean. I don't believe that change impacted what I saw. Okay. But with that said, I will say that the dissemination was pretty far and wide. And like I've said before, I think it appears to me that it was all legal. The question is should it have been done in the first place? Did it meet foreign intelligence value? And then secondly, were any other American names unmasked? And I have information that says that they're...
All right. Now, that's Representative Nunes, the head of the House Intelligence Committee, telling you the exact truth of the law and how it works. That's why this is so ridiculous. Everything a president-elect does on a telephone is recorded by law when they're talking to foreign leaders. What's illegal is unmasking the president, unmasking Flynn, saying you have proof that they're selling us out to the Russians. The bluff gets called. The House and Senate Intelligence Committees get their proof. There's not even phone calls till the middle of December that are supposed to be phone calls to the Russians and everybody else. Trump was calling hundreds and hundreds of world leaders a day. When he called me 3 days after the election, he said, Alex, your number, whatever. I only got 5 minutes with you, and I've already called 100 and something people. And I told folks about that. That's what Trump was doing. It's what Flynn was doing. But that's what's so crazy about this, is that that's what CNN and MSNBC and ABC and even Fox News for the last 2 weeks was saying. The president may get impeached. What a bold statement. It's actually been 3 weeks. Claiming the NSA was spying on him. That's what it is when under law they're spying on the foreign diplomats and leaders through those digital interfaces. And now Nunes comes out and says, no, I've seen the evidence, which they just play stupid with at the NSA and other agencies, the record of them spying on Trump. He's seen the records. And then we know some of the other sources that have gotten information to Nunes showing illegal spying was going on by Obama going back 8+ years ago when he first got into office against Donald John Trump. That everybody knew had the top TV shows, you name it, the top Q scores, the top likability. Back then, he had like 90% likability with the public in national polls. So they said, you got to run for president. Remember, he wasn't a right-winger or left-winger back then. He was just Donald Trump, the entertainer, the golfer, the billionaire, the guy with the beautiful wife. So this is a real Waterloo for the Democrats and the deep state, because they were so foolish, they came out and said, we have the intercepts that Trump is selling us out to the Russians. Well, they had the intercepts, but he wasn't selling us out. Then Trump said, you've leaked that information. That's illegal, cut and dry. And they went, oh, like Porky Pig. We didn't do that. We never surveilled anybody. This is preposterous. We're like, here's thousands of headlines, hundreds out of the Washington Post and New York Times. Here's one writer that wrote 3 stories, one writer that wrote 4 stories, one writer that wrote 8 stories. In the New York Times alone, saying wiretaps, intercepts, transcripts of Flynn and other Trump people selling us out to the Russians. On and on and on and on and on and on. But what's the big takeaway here? They thought you were stupid, I was stupid, and didn't know the facts. And now Sean Hannity's up there, God love him, giving you the U.S. code, giving you the law, how they were doing it. It's all law. It's all on the books. It's going on for 50 years or more. So now Fox News calls it potential smoking gun last night, showing Obama administration spied on Trump team. Sources say, this is like saying smoking gun that the Gulf of Mexico exists. Smoking gun. Mother Teresa existed. It's like smoking gun. I'm holding a laptop or an iPad in my hand. Anyone can see I am. Smoking gun. I've got a shot of North America behind me on the Jumbotron. Smoking gun. I'm wearing a baby blue shirt. Smoking gun. I'm wearing a black sports wristwatch. Smoking gun, my hair's falling out. Smoking gun, smoking gun. And I have to sit here being the person telling you this for 20 years the same way every time. They have keyword software. They're grabbing everything. It runs to the major telecom hubs. And now they've moved on to more advanced stuff. Because it was all declassified 20 years ago. And they would just say, oh, that's the crazy conspiracy theorist. And they would pick things that sounded weird. I'd be sent video shot from a nursing home in Kingsville, Texas, of 18 helicopters coming in and blowing up the old police station and scaring the town in some Delta Force drill. I'm not against Delta Force, but I show the video terrorizing people. What is the PSYOP? The military high-up folks say this is to condition the public. Bill Clinton's ordered this. The military doesn't like it. This isn't just a training mission. And they had headlines across the country saying Alex Jones believes black helicopters exist, and they start this whole black helicopter thing. People were seeing them all over the country doing drills, and they were doing a test to tell you, you're crazy, there's no black helicopters. Despite the fact that I had former Delta Force people telling me what the program was, and head emergency managers and police chiefs. And I have the video of the police chief in San Antonio in an interview in his office where they offered him $200,000 cash, Delta Force did, to let them run secret operations and basically assassination squads and things like that inside San Antonio. And it was going on all over the country. And the Delta Force didn't like it. They were being used by the president because the average person isn't going to say no to one of our best military units. They're going to believe there's some reason. They used our James Bond types to go compromise. And Ale Philippus had been in Army intelligence. He said, listen, get the hell out of my office. Then he found out they'd bought off almost the whole city. Then AP had to admit, okay, Alex Jones is right. The black helicopters are here, and they're absolutely running PSYOPs. But see, this is how they work, ladies and gentlemen. Then they go, Alex doesn't like the Army. No, the Army doesn't like what they're being told to do. See, the Army's our Army. The government's our government. I never hated the government. I didn't like the globalists that had hijacked it. And I've told you thousands of times. But if you're a new listener, this is key. Globalism's illegal. It's corrupt. It's anti-human. It's absolutely greedy. It wants to make you poor to control you. And it's so arrogant, it's written hundreds of books and white papers and university studies admitting their global plan. This movement is a scientific dictatorship, in their words, called a technocracy. And if you ever expose it's there and ever make them admit, okay, Obamacare isn't free, or okay, they really are coming after our guns, or okay, there really are globalists and a global government that's out to take our freedoms. If you ever force that and the public finally admits it's real, it's like admitting that, again, that the sun came up this morning. But it's this peer pressure mind control where they go, there's no NSA spying. Nobody spied on Trump. That's insane. You're like, you just said a week ago you were spying on him. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. CNN came on last week and said, Alex Jones is preposterous. He claims I wrote articles about wiretapping and the president being spied on. And the very author's name, I kept saying 3, was on 4 articles saying surveillance, wiretapping, intercepts, transcripts of the president and his transition team selling us out to the Russians. And he went on CNN and said it didn't exist. If you're a radio listener, the article's flashback. New York Times admits wiretaps used against Trump. Let's scroll down. We'll show you a screenshot of just one of the articles where it says wiretap data used in inquiry on Trump aides. And I can play you the same guy saying it doesn't exist and you're crazy. Well, guess what? It doesn't work anymore. These little control freaks. So the big takeaway here is Davos man is dead. Bilderberg man is dead. The guy that founded Bilderberg literally died, as you know, a few days ago, David Rockefeller. But in their own writings, they're saying globalism is dead, and they're not saying it to play possum. Their corrupt system is going to fall. Now they're just trying to steal as much money as they can and run to armored redoubts in the Pacific Ocean. That's a fact. I read about it and heard about it from some sources, and I went and investigated it in Kauai. I think I'm going to go to Tasmania and investigate it as well, and there they were, building their mountaintop armored fortresses, helicopter pads, everything. Kicking the locals off their land, you name it. And it's even worse in Tasmania. That's really out in the middle of nowhere. And they are pulling out. They're planning something big. I don't have an idea. I know what's in their cards. I know what's in their spectrum of plans. And it's if people can't admit the stuff that's in their face, how are you going to admit to yourself and change the stuff that is absolutely going on, but is 50 times more scary? I'm not going to sit here and stick my head in the sand. Globalism is criminal. It is anti-human. It is a horrible ideology, the worst the world's ever seen. It comes out of the eugenics, social Darwinism movement that spawned the fascist like Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini. It's bad. And Hitler and Mussolini were unorganized morons compared to the globalists. But they don't care if you're white or black. They want to dumb everybody down and play us off, but they use race politics posing as the left. That's the global plan. Energize the giant third world population, implode them, flood the West, dictate the surrender of the West to the globalists. 3 million North African Muslims are waiting under the UN Migration/Borders Board run by the founder of the EU, Peter Sutherland, and they're ordering Europe right now, the EU under UN, talk about dictatorship, to let 3 million in the next 6 months. 3 million on top of the 5 million documented, 80% of them military-age men flooding in. What is that plan? Sutherland told The Guardian 3 years ago and gave a speech to the EU saying it's to end Western civilization and white culture. When they say white, though, folks, they mean due process, juries, electricity, all the stuff. They don't want the world getting the idea that and our system's not perfect. But boy, go to Guatemala, go to North Korea, go to Venezuela, go to Nigeria, which is one of the better African countries, go to South Africa, and then tell me how good those places are. Go to Cuba. Go to Eastern Europe, where everything's a screw job and a ruling class, and there's nothing but a mafia. Your only hope is getting your daughter or your son married in to one of the local power structures. That's all there is. The whole culture's about butt kissing, not about innovation, not about building, not about a future. America isn't perfect. Europe isn't perfect. We're trying to get to that renaissance. Just the idea of it created all this technology you're looking at. the medicine, everything. But it's all got a bad side because the globalists have hijacked with Trojan horses the culture, the electronics, the medicine, everything for their agendas because they don't want to give us Promethean fire that our ancestors built. The human culture all contributed to the science we have. It's just that the plague hit Europe 1,000 years ago, 800 years ago, 600 years ago, and wiped out the elites because they were in the cities and left the farmers. And that's what caused the Renaissance, was actually people out working hard, far away from cities, who had their own little industries and were too far away for the nobles to come, enslave them completely. All those secret technologies that have been held back, going back through different cultures, were then able to spring forth because a large part of the population died, and we were able to get the Renaissance going. Because the elite were basically wiped out. It's the only reason we have. It's not that even Europe is better than other regions and groups in the world. They've all had technologies and things just as advanced, but their elites kept them behind the city walls and never gave it to the public. Same thing the Europeans did. Whether it's Japan or ancient Europe or ancient Mesoamerica, it's the ancient Africa, the elites don't want new innovation going to the people because they're controlling everyone with it. And that same fight we've been dealing with forever is what we're facing now. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say, see, I told you so, that communist Chinese-style net censorship was coming to the web, because it's already here. It's being announced. The way you keep the internet open and free is you get involved more than ever. Go to Infowars.com/app. A new battleship in the fight. Infowars Live, available right now. We're looking for a crew to man it. You gonna sit down and play games and be a trendy? Or are you gonna be part of history? Don't sit by and let the internet and free speech be stolen from you. Take action.